Posted by Wordroll. When someone tried to get you fired, but you have a reverse card. This incident blew up in March 2021 in the middle of lockdowns and stuff. It would probably be recognizable to the people I work with. Hopefully, they don't read this thread. It's a story about someone whose ambition was bigger than their ethics and law, and it's coming back to bite them. At the time, I was working as a manager in a mid-sized business. While I was there, I was assigned a new member to my team. I'll call her Evil. Evil was in her mid-20s and was pretty fresh out of college. She was the kind of person who could talk your ear off about all the ideas and plans that she was working on, but never actually seemed to have anything to show for it. When I talked to her about clients complaining that she wasn't getting back to them, she would always have an excuse about how difficult they were, how snowed under she was, and how she had written an email but it must have got lost in spam, and so on and so forth. Basically, it's never her fault. It got to the point where after one of our monthly meetings, I called her in and explained that if she couldn't get her tasks done, she needed to let us know so we could help delegate resources to make sure things weren't slipping through the cracks. I'll admit I was pretty direct. Her performance was impacting the whole team, and my job was literally to keep the team on track. I get that people can be under pressure, that there can be stuff going on at home which impacts work, and that sometimes people just need a bit of help. But if every time I ask about a project you say, yeah, everything's good, I've got it under control, and then it falls apart, and your only response is to blame the client, well, we have a problem. I explained that I wasn't going to start formal performance management or anything like that, but from now on I'd like her to check in with me on Monday mornings for 10 minutes to go over objectives for the week and check if she needed support with any of her clients. I know it isn't fun to be micromanaged, so I tried to keep these check-ins short and mostly just offer assistance on stuff. She clearly hated my guts though, and apparently was hatching her own pro-revenge. Now, part of my role included use of a purchasing card, which wasn't in my name but I had access to. I was given the card to basically make small purchases for the office or spend up to $500 on clients. The card was kept in an office I shared with another team manager, where we could both access it if we needed it. One day I got a call from accounts asking about a few abnormal purchases on the card. A Photoshop subscription, a couple of Uber Eats orders, a HBO subscription, etc. I say I don't know anything about them and they should check in with the other team manager. Apparently the other team manager didn't know anything about them either, because after the weekend I got a call into the big boss's office. After my colleague and I had denied involvement, accounts started calling Adobe and Uber and stuff to find out where the transactions were coming from. They said that not only were the accounts in my name, they were registered to an email address with my name in it too, e.g. word.roll3@domain.com or something. I can't describe what it felt like to be in that meeting. I felt physically sick. I couldn't work out what was happening. I was so shocked, I didn't know what to say. I felt like I was about to get fired and I couldn't understand how that was even possible. The director was going on about how access to the card was a privilege and that I had signed an agreement about appropriate use and so on and so forth. I denied that I had been using it inappropriately and the boss listened, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. To be honest, in my head I was gaslighting myself and worrying that I had somehow saved the card in Google and maybe my wife had accidentally used it or something. It was terrible, and I found myself apologizing and saying, I don't know what's happened. I assure you that I know none of these expenses are appropriate use of company funds. There must have been some kind of mistake. Can I please have the details and I'll look into it, etc., etc. When I finally got out of that office, job still intact, barely, Evil was waiting for me at my office door. She was grinning from ear to ear and sweetly explained she had been waiting for our morning meeting. I told her something had come up and that we'd do the meeting tomorrow, and she said, "Oh, will you be in tomorrow?" Confused, because I didn't know I was in a pro-revenge thread at the time. I just replied, "Yeah, why wouldn't I be in tomorrow?" And she just sipped her tea and said, "Oh, no reason. turned around and went back to her desk. Something felt off, but I was still worrying about what had happened with the boss, so I spent the next couple of hours calling my wife, calling Adobe, and doing the same legwork that accounts had done. It became very obvious that someone had been using my name and the company card to spend a bunch of money online. Had I been hacked or something? Personal info on the dark web and these hackers just really wanted Photoshops and Wendy's delivered? It was the Uber Eats that was her undoing. After getting on the phone and talking through what had gone on and obviously giving my name for the account and everything, the fellow on the phone told me where the food had been delivered. It was in our city, which made me rule out straight away any notion of my data being sold online or something. Now, I was suspicious and pissed. I don't like to think the worst of people, but now I was. Listening to my gut, I pulled up Evil's employee information and checked her address. I pulled it on Google Maps, dropped a pin on her place, and then looked for the address Uber Eats had given me. It was the corner of her effing block. I was furious. When she left work for the day, I got IT to give me access to her laptop. Sure enough, when I opened up her domain.com account, under her listed accounts were word.rollfree@domain.com. There were some things she had been smart about. The IP address she had been using was the office, which would have tied back to me. She'd even had the food delivered to a different address. She had even made a fake email address. But saving her passwords on a work computer was a mistake. I called the boss that night and explained what I had found and kept the IT guy with me to support the fact that I hadn't just logged into her computer and made it all up. The next day, the boss called her into the office and fired her so bad there were red trucks lining up outside the building. When she teary-eyed left the office, I made sure I was standing in the hall, sipping a cup of tea. It had gotten cold while I waited for her, but oh boy, it still tasted sweet. I hope she went home that night, because if she did, she would have received some nice goodbye Wendy's delivered by Uber Eats. Paid for on my personal card, of course. Revenge and justice can be the same thing, right? In the end, she was fired. The boss apologized and we're on good terms when I left in October for a new gig. She never apologized and I haven't seen her since. The boss decided not to get the police involved and neither did I. Just didn't want the hassle. Well guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you're subscribed because we're going to be bringing you new episodes regularly now. And if you like this, why not check out our podcast? There's a link down below. And if you really liked it, feel free to drop us a couple of bucks on Patreon. There's a link down there as well. In the meantime, guys, peace out.